No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Welcome on in, Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. Just realized how crazy my hair's looking after taking a shower. So I'm sure some of you guys will love to comment on that. Jay Tust going to join us shortly. I'll find a Circa Sports hat here to wear. How about that? We'll go Circa Sports today. There we go. Jay Tust going to join us shortly here on Bronco Nation News Live. We got a Boise State basketball game tonight to talk about. We got the college football playoff rankings coming out tonight. And, oh, yeah, we got a football team that's getting ready to play San Jose State on Saturday. So a lot going on. We got our gentleman, or our on-fireman pick from San Francisco. Curious your thoughts on the game the other night, being there, what that was like, that atmosphere. Also going to the San Jose game on Saturday. So a nice back-to-back weekends there. I was hoping they were the same weekend. If you could have had one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, maybe a lot of people would have done both. But unfortunately, the weekends did not line up there the last couple of weekends. But yeah, San Jose State football on Saturday, basketball tonight, and then basketball Sunday against Clemson as well. So we're in the Western Collective Studios. Make sure you pick up the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer. I believe they're available inside Extra Mile Arena. You can get them at your local retailers and, of course, at the brewery there in Garden City. So check them out. Western Collective. I know Carrie and folks have been on hard times with closing down the restaurants. So if you can make it out there and support them, we would certainly appreciate that. If you could get out there and support, Carrie and the crew out there at Western Collective. This is RowPaint.com, our title sponsor. You can check them out as well. ROEPaint.com. All your painting needs, concrete coatings and things. Check them out at RowPaint.com. Our man Jay Tust has joined the program. There we go. How we doing, Jay?
I'm good. How are you today, bud?
Doing good. Appreciate you for coming in. It's a lot going on today. We got a basketball game tonight, playoff rankings coming out tonight. We got football game on Saturday, and just kind of the way it is right now.
Yeah, hey, don't forget, Big Canyon County rivalry tonight. The oldest basketball rivalry in the state of Idaho resumes tonight between NNU and the College of Idaho. So
That's right. And
don't forget about that one.
Jay Tust will be on the call on 24/7. Is that Brian King again?
BK going to join me, one of the best people in the world. Brady
on the sidelines?
We'll see. Yep.
All right. Looking forward to it. That's going to be a fun matchup with NNU and C of I, as it always is. And I wish it wasn't the same night as a Boise State basketball game, though.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. It is what it is. I wish it wasn't the same
like,
night.
What are you doing with C of I and NNU? Like, make it on a Wednesday or something. Like, once you see the Boise State schedule,
I will say they usually play these games on like the same dates every year, and they're usually a Tuesday, and their schedules are a little less flexible because they don't get chartered jets to go places and things like that. So
they're driving down the road.
Not all the time.
No, I'm saying each other tonight. They could have just done it tomorrow.
I don't know. Whatever. It's also Boise State's playing Corban. I mean, what are we missing?
I'd like to watch that game if I could, but I don't know if I'll be able to now. Maybe I'll go back and watch the other replay.
There you go. Do that.
All right. Let's start with basketball then. Boise State basketball tonight. Corban went over and talked to Leon yesterday. I mean, obviously, I think San Fran is a better team than a lot of just the casual basketball fans are giving them credit for. But I said it on the pregame show with Abe. Like, that was a game that you really would have liked to have won. But we'll wait and see on San Francisco. But unfortunately, after such high from the Oakland game, came crashing back down a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I was so optimistic after the Oakland game, and maybe I was giving Oakland just a little too much credit because they did get an NCAA tournament win last year. And I know a lot of their guys either graduated or hit the portal, and they're not really the same team anymore. But I'm still high on this team. Like, I'm not hitting the panic button by any means. I still think they're going to be really, really good. I just I really thought I thought they'd go down and get a win in San Francisco. I know that place is really tough to play. And San Francisco's got a decent squad, man. But I just thought with Boise State's experience and stuff, I thought they'd go get that one. But, with that being said, it's one of those games that, it's a nice little resume boost if you get it, but it doesn't really hurt too much if you don't.
No, I mean, it's borderline quad one right now. I mean, we don't have the official net rankings, but in terms of KenPom, and they're number 79, they just have to be top 75 for that to be quad one. So when it's all said and done, that's likely to be a quad one loss, which isn't really a huge deal. But you would have really liked to have been 2-0 and have that. And I mean, it makes some of these other games a little more, I won't say must win, but when you're trying to build a resume here, you can't be, the Clemson game now on Sunday that we'll talk about Friday, I guess, is a now all of a sudden an even bigger game.
Yeah. I mean, especially because that game is in Boise, right? That becomes a little more important to defend the home floor. So I kind of agree with you on that one. And yeah, it's so early in the season. I don't want to say anything's a must win, but when you have your eye on making a fourth consecutive NCAA tournament, that is one you would certainly love to get.
Dune wants me to wear a Kansas hat. Says we need the win on Saturday. Let me see. Got one. Here you go. I'll wear it for like 5 seconds so folks can see it. We'll go with the retro. What do you think of the? We'll go with the little.
I loved Kansas's chances last week against Iowa State, and I texted you before kickoff and said, "Hey, I like their chances," and they took care of the Cyclones.
There you did. Bronco Nation, Jayhawks this week. Let's go.
How do you feel about this game? How do you feel about this game? I still don't feel like BYU is as good as their record suggests. That's just me. And it's crazy to see, like, you got a 3-6 Jayhawks team going to Provo as a 3-point underdog. Like, that would also tell me that, that would say if this was on a neutral field, BJ, it would be a pick 'em between a 3-6 team and what is it, a 9 or a 10-0 team? Like, that's wild. That should not be the case.
It sounds like super homerishly, but if you've watched Kansas, they've literally had the lead in the fourth quarter of literally every single game this season. So like, it's not like they're a traditional 3-6 team, I guess. I mean, yeah, they're losing the games. They're finding ways to blow it and lose it. And I get it. They've had a horrible season, but they've got a high powered offense that's finally clicking now. And they've been in every game this season. Clark, our friend from ICCU, says ugly hat. Hey, get me an ICCU hat, Clark. I'll be happy to sport that here anytime. So Appreciate you for watching, Clark. And he's commenting in the ICCU YouTube chat there.
But I mean, the reason why that game's relevant is because Boise State's trying to get that first round bye, and you figure, especially if BYU were to slip up against a 3-6 team, that would hurt them pretty bad. Upon the last college football playoff rankings, there was only there's only a gap of 3 ranking points or whatever you want to say between Boise State and BYU. BYU was 9, Boise State was 12. So if BYU were to lose that game, you figure that might be enough for the Broncos to jump in front of the Cougars. I just think it's kind of crazy though. Like when you really consider it, like I said, like usually home field is worth 3 points. I think in many places, and I'd say Provo is worth more than 3 points. But if this game was played on a neutral field, it would basically be a pick'em between an undefeated BYU team and a 3-6 Kansas team. So that it shows you 2 things. Kansas isn't as bad as their record, but it also says that BYU isn't as good as their record.
Maybe I'll bring one for you today, Jay. But I just found a couple more here. I mean, I literally have about 15 Kansas hats. But if you want the traditional Jayhawk hat, we got just the traditional Jayhawk right there. And then if you want the maybe a little old school here again, how about the front of the? What do you think of the old school K there? You a fan of this one? No. Well, hopefully, and you know what?
What are you doing to me? I can't admit that. Come on.
If BYU would have lost that game, there would have been a little more intrigue because I think Boise State probably would have been the 11 seed, but ranked 4th probably. Now they're probably the 12, probably actually, to be honest with you, probably 13. They probably dropped down one, but then they're the 12 seed, and people see that as disrespect and all that. And I hate to say it, but when you have Ole Miss, and I wanted to talk more basketball, we'll get back to basketball, I guess, in a minute. But when you have Ole Miss doing what they're doing, and they're going to have to move up. And then Boise State, again, 25-point favorites, only winning by 7. Like, I hate to say it, but not a lot of people were watching that game. And when you look over and, just because of the other games that were on at the same time, and you just see the score later and you're like, eh. And I know the committee watches the little 40-minute clip or whatever. I'm sure the committee members will have seen the game. But it wasn't I don't think it was a super dominant game for Boise State to try to get style points when you win by 7 at home. So I think a close win combined with what else happened, Boise State probably drops to 13.
I'm kind of more interested to see if SMU jumps Boise State because they have a like opponent in Nevada. SMU needed a late 4th quarter touchdown to come back and beat the Wolfpack. They beat them, I think it was by 5. Boise State beat them by 7, and it was a late touchdown by Nevada that kind of closed the gap to make it look a little closer there. So kind of interested to see if they'll jump in front of Boise State because they were right behind the Broncos in the first one last week. Yeah.
Wow. I think fans would be upset with that. But it is what it is. And and again,
it also wouldn't really matter though. Like Boise State's working with, and all you got to make sure is that Army stays off their heels. And that's probably the biggest game of the weekend for Boise State, even bigger than BYU and Kansas is Notre Dame plays Army this week. And if the Fighting Irish can take care of them, then the gap between Boise State and that next G5 team grows even more. And it might be even getting to the point where I'm not saying it's going to happen, but and it can't happen in the Mountain West Conference Championship game, in my opinion. Like Boise State has to win the Mountain West Conference Championship game of every game left on their schedule, but it might even provide like a little bit of leeway for them to, let's just say, not have their best day of football.
So you're saying if Army loses, Boise State could lose and still get in?
It depends in the fashion and manner.
I think Tulane's kind of sitting there sneaky with 2 losses, but both good losses. That game's next week, Avery says.
It's next week? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was this week.
11:23, Tyree says. Yeah, I think I saw Raider yesterday and said it was this week too.
Okay.
All right, thanks for correcting us, guys. Either way, when that game happens, it will be one of the bigger games for Boise State. And you're right, Jay, because Boise State could be 18-19, but if they, they're going to obviously be at no worse 12, but they could be 8. The main thing they want to do is just, like I said, be in striking distance to finish higher than whoever wins the Big 12. So even if you fall to 14, I guess if BYU loses to Kansas, they could go to 13 or something and not fall too far down. I don't know if Colorado runs the table. They're kind of the sexy team now, but I'm not sure they could come all the way up. Maybe, you know what? Maybe if they're 18 or 19 today and Boise State's 14 all of a sudden, then maybe that looks a little better. But that's, I still think that's the home game on the Blues probably not happening if we're just being honest. So I think if you're a Boise State fan, you probably got to be looking towards trying to find a way to get that bye.
Yeah, I agree with that. But man, a matchup I would love more than anything, and it's crazy to say this, but I would love Colorado Boise State this year. I would love it. And I wish it could happen before the Heisman trophy ceremony, or at least the ballots were submitted for that thing. But I would absolutely love that, because I think that there would be a reality check in that whole scenario with number two.
And the only problem with that is, I guess it could be if, my only problem with that is it would probably have to be the second game for Boise State with the way it would work with 4-5 and the 12. If Colorado gets the 4 seed, then you'd play them maybe in the 4-5 game after the 5 beats or 5-12. So let's put Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty one-on-one at midfield, no coin toss. Let's see what happens.
It would be awesome, man. I mean, at some point in time, Ashton would bounce one to where either Travis would have to tackle him or try to chase him down. And I just saying that would be must-see TV in college football this year. And as long as we're, finishing up on football here for a second, if you look at the last 4 times Ashton Genty has been on a football field, he has 139 touches, BJ, 777 yards, 8 total touchdowns. Like, I'm so overhearing about snap count. Like, I'm sorry, and there are smarter football people out there that could probably, if they want to prove me wrong, go for it. But I don't know. Like, if you played football, 139 touches, mostly between the tackles, is so much more taxing than, in my opinion, man, than playing both ways or doing what Travis is doing. Like, I'm not trying to also knock what Travis is doing, because it's completely unique and he is unbelievable in his own right. But man, like 139 touches in 4 games, that I would want no part of attempting to do that ever. And there are only a few select people that could get that done and do it as good as Ashton's doing it.
I think it was 9 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown for Travis on Saturday, but somebody I think said no defensive stats. Maybe they're running the other way to him. I don't know. To me, just playing both sides of the ball, I mean, that's a great accomplishment, but I'm not. It's pretty amazing and it's unheard of. But I think
Ashton's leading the country by 406 rushing yards.
Yeah, he's getting
BJ. He has more rushing yards. You go.
He's not average. He's obviously clearly above average. He's elite, but he's not the best at either position. And I don't know. Just does that outweigh it? Maybe, but like he's getting a ton of credit for being an above average receiver and DB versus literally the best player in the country at his position and maybe overall.
He leads all of college football by 406 rushing yards. He has more rushing yards through 9 games than anyone in the country did last year in the full season. And the same with the season before. The last guy with more rushing yards in a season than Ashton has through 9 games, you'd have to go back to 2021. And before that, you have to go back to like 2018. Like, what he's doing right now is insane. And I hope he gets his credit, man, or his due, because he's also being unbelievably selfless. Like, you and I have been around the program for a long time, and I'm going to talk about this as vaguely as I can, but it is relevant. There have been players at Boise State with an NFL future that would probably, I don't say players, maybe player, I don't know, whatever. They might remove themselves from a situation with their eye on the future. And Ashton Genty is not doing that. He's like, give me more. And I thought it was funny because after I got home from the game or whatever, I was rapidly rewatching it, and I still haven't rewatched the whole thing, but I caught his interview at the end, and he looked like he just went for a stroll in the park. Like, he didn't even seem tired. I felt like they'd have to drag him off the field, and he was perfectly good to go. So he's really, really good. And
a former running back that's maybe still playing in the NFL, that's in a bowl game, maybe not wanting to be out there in some big spots, would you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, sure. Yeah. One thing I will say is, like, when we talk about betting lines and stuff like that on the Heisman, I certainly think they're relevant when determining who is the favorite, because, again, Vegas follows the money, and the money usually means something. But one thing about those, it's not necessarily that doesn't necessarily mean the best player, right? They have to move lines depending on, who's betting on what, right? And so right now that I would assume a lot of money has come in on Travis Hunter, which means they've had to knock that line down so they don't lose a ton of money. So it wasn't, I mean, when we were in Vegas, BJ, Travis was dealing with an injury and he was like, I don't know, 16-1 or something like that. Still kind of a long shot compared to those other three. And then all of a sudden he wasn't that hurt. He's been able to play and he is just shot back up the board. And now he's the overall favorite when it comes to that line. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean Vegas is predicting him or is calling him the best player in the country. It's just how the money has moved with who's betting on him. They've had to make him the favorite. So if he wins, they balance out their losses.
Yep. And as I talked to Mike Prater about yesterday, whoever's setting that line is not like, at least I don't think, like straw pulling 100 Heisman voters. Like it's just some guy, and you're right, it has to do with money and then just who some guy thinks should be the favorite at this point, not necessarily what all the voters think.
Yeah, and I do think like there is an understanding that a lot of the Heisman voters are in the South. So like I do think there is that element to it, but you're right. It's not like they're like gauging a certain amount of Heisman voters to judge how they move that line. And to be honest with you, you know where I learned all that?
Mike Palm.
Your boys over at Circa.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
You learn a lot of great stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Max
you lose a lot of great stuff over there too.
Max Payne would put my life savings on BSU if we played Colorado. He says Twitter couldn't handle a Colorado Boise State matchup. Ashton would make him look like a middle schooler. Would we trust the Boise State pass defense though against Colorado?
That's probably the biggest question. Shedeur Sanders is a really good football player. I think it's fun. I mean, it's hilarious to me. Like, I don't think that guy's getting this, which is kind of crazy for me to say, I feel like, but I don't think he's getting his credit.
I was humble brag, went to the gym this morning, Jay. I'm getting a little better routine here and got a nice bright and early 5:15 walking into the gym, and they had First Take or one of those shows on, and they're already talking about the Dallas Cowboys tanking so that Shedeur Sanders can be the number one pick, and then Deion Sanders can go coach the Cowboys next year.
Mm-hmm.
Sanders is good, but if he's the number one overall pick, wow, that'd be crazy.
That would be a little bit wild, but I could also, like, if there was ever, a player coach combo and an NFL team to concoct that scenario from playing out, I mean, this is the scenario that you would do it.
No doubt. All right. So CFP rankings tonight, to put a bow on that, we're thinking definitely not going up probably.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is staying the same, but I really do think they drop at least one spot, and you're saying maybe two is possible too. So we'll look at 13 or 14 tonight maybe.
I think that's the case. But just to reiterate the fans, it also doesn't really matter because Boise State is the highest ranked G5 team, so they will still have that 12 seed. And that's what another thing, like, really pay attention to that. There's the rankings and then there's the seedings. They're two different things right now. And so the seed is more important in my opinion, but those are two different things right now. So you want to keep track of how far BYU is ahead, or whoever is, the best Big 12 team. You want to keep track of how far they are ahead of Boise State in the rankings, not necessarily the seeding, because it looks like there's a massive gap if you look at the seed right now between Boise State and BYU, but there's not when you look at the rankings. So that's what you need to keep an eye on.
Since all of you viewers and listeners are now Kansas Jayhawk fans this week, that means you can root tonight. Kansas will play in the Champions Classic against Michigan State on the basketball side. And then right when that game ends, Jay, is when they have the rankings show right there from Atlanta, Reese Davis and company. And they'll be in between the Kentucky-Duke game is the second game of the Champions Classic. So Kansas, Michigan State, that's at 4:30. That game ends at 6:30. Then you have the rankings show, and then Kentucky and Duke after that. I will be at Extra Mile Arena, probably going to go down there and set up early and try to watch all that. And then we'll probably be on the pregame show live. So we may be able to just keep the pregame show going on BNN here and give you guys a live update about 6:30 on the rankings. I hadn't thought about that till right now, but maybe we can do that and kind of react with you guys in real time. But we'll be live about 6 o'clock tonight with the pregame show. And what time's the coverage over on 24/7?
Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. So a little bit of a little packed schedule, I would say, tonight. But tip-off is at 7 o'clock between NNU and the College of Idaho.
All right. We'll get back to that in a minute here. I do want to thank a couple of our sponsors. Western Collective, the Horseshoe Golden Ale. Check them out. The Horseshoe Golden Ale, Orange Chaos Seltzer, and the Golden Ale are available at Extra Mile Arena, Albertson Stadium, or most local retailers. Our studio sponsor is Western Collective. Roepaint.com, ROEpaint.com. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, whether it's interior, exterior painting, highly, highly recommend our friends over at roepaint.com. Check them out, ROEpaint.com. And again, there would be no Bronco Nation News without our title sponsor, so support them, folks, roepaint.com. Another major sponsor for us, Idaho Central Credit Union. Big time thanks to them. So if you're looking to, the thing I always say is you think you're happy with your bank, I don't want to deal with having to switch. I promise you, if you take the time to make the switch, which is not that much time, you're going to be so happy that you did. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile eBranch online banking right there on your smartphone. And again, so easy to use. And you may think you're liking your banking experience. Once you make the switch, you'll be so happy you did. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley for a reason. And we found that out in the Rains family, purchasing and selling our home using Matt and his team. So he's now part of the official Boise State home team. And he's ready to help you out, and his staff. They do a tremendous job. Cade, Kelly, Sarah, the whole crew. Check them out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. And Ridley's Family Markets, they've been around, generations. ShopRidleys.com. They got 13 locations in the state of Idaho, the surrounding states as well. ShopRidleys.com. And again, you can find a location near you. Download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line at shopridleys.com. All right, cool story potentially developing tonight with the Boise State men's basketball team. They added a new player to the roster, Brennan Ramirez, and I'm going to play more of the interview and really let folks get to know him on the pregame show tonight, but I did want to just kind of show what Brennan Ramirez means to this team. The quick backstory is 2 years as a team manager, always in the back of his mind wanted to be a player on the team, and was kind of embarrassed or wasn't ready to say anything to Coach Rice about it for 2 years. Some guys left the team over the summer, Vince Behringer, Alex Martin, Cade Rice. They had some walk-on spots available, said something to the coaches. They said, hey, we'll think about it. We'll see. We'll see. But, get up more shots than Andrew Meadow this summer. Do things like that. Show us you want this. And he actually did by 1,500 shots over the summer. He beat Andrew Meadow. He averaged 750 shots a day over a 62-day period. And his final day, he took 2,100 shots to make sure he passed Meadow, went in there 3 times to the gym before the summer workouts ended. And they weren't sure they were going to be able to do this. I didn't know about this rule, Jay, but apparently there's a rule in baseball where if you're a team manager, you cannot be an active player on the same team at the same school because teams were trying to stack their rosters with student managers and then turn them into players in terms of being able to practice and throw BP and do things out there on the field. So apparently that did carry over to basketball, and Boise State had to submit a waiver. It took about 2 months, and they just found out last week that the waiver was approved. They surprised him, as everybody saw in the video with the team jersey. Still had some more hurdles to clear in terms of being eligible by Boise State, but they just found out yesterday afternoon that he is 100% cleared, and he will run out of the tunnel, suit up with the team tonight for his very first game. And we were over there doing interviews yesterday, and they said, oh, you guys want any players? And I was like, yeah, how about Brennan? So he starts walking over to do the interview, and his teammates, practice is over. His teammates are kind of getting ready to walk off the court. Some already had. They're kind of standing around. And they realize that Brennan Ramirez is doing an interview for the first time in his career. He's now on the team, and this is the reaction behind him. How's that make you feel?
Amazing. I can't. It's unreal. It's still surreal to me. It's awesome.
Standing ovation from his teammates there. And I got the very end of it. That had already been going for 10, 15 seconds before I was smart enough to turn my camera on. Pretty cool story. And the way it works out, Jay, I mean, Corban, you're hoping they're up 30-40 in the late in the game. Maybe he gets a chance to get out there on the court tonight.
That'd be great. That's hilarious, by the way. Why don't they get that excited to do interviews like the other guys when we get there?
Well, I think they were cheering because they didn't have to do it. He was.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, probably. Yeah, that's probably a cool story. Those are the stories that make you love sport, and that's awesome for Mr. Ramirez. Hopefully, he gets into the game tonight. Gets in the book. Yeah, he's at least on the roster now, which is pretty darn cool.
I mean, in that first game against Oakland, I think they played all 10 players that were literally dressed out. So I'm sure they have some younger guys they want to get some run, but there certainly would be an opportunity if you're up 30 or 40 in the last minute to get your walk on in the game. And there's not going to probably be a lot of chances. So, if it were to, and I said something to Leon Rice, like, would you love to get him in the game? And he goes, well, we got to do what's best for the team. But he goes, if the situation arises, I'd love to. And I know the teammates would love it too. So that's a cool story to see if he's able. We'll the full interview's up on our YouTube channel. Leon talked about it as well. I wrote a full story with some more details at BroncoNationNews.com. There's a backstory in terms of a family friend that had passed away that kind of led him to give up his basketball career and come to Boise State as a manager. Excuse me. And there's a couple of photos and just more backstory on it's a pretty cool story. So you can go read that at BroncoNationNews.com, and we'll play more of that interview and let you meet Brendan Ramirez tonight on the pregame show. Tyree says Dylan Anderson, he's getting a 20-point double-double tonight. One of the mysteries, Jay, and I know we were, Leon jokingly walked over to us and goes, I'm surprised any of you knew there was a game on Saturday. But it was the same exact time as the football game. I get it. It's tough. In terms of just trying to fans, everybody, like, you're looking at a box score and then you're watching the game is different. And you look at the box score and you see that like a Dylan Anderson only played 13 minutes. So we were trying to follow it on our phones in the press conference, went back and watched it, but a little surprising. One of the surprises in that game was Dylan Anderson only getting 13 minutes and not really being much of a factor at all. I'll be curious tonight against Corban, who I haven't looked at their roster, but I would just assume is a smaller NAIA type team. That Dylan Anderson, we'll see what Dylan Anderson's role is tonight.
Yeah. We had the game on.
We did. He was kidding. He was just kidding. No one went to San Francisco. All the media was at the football game. He was just having fun. He was kidding around, but we did. I actually have a picture of video evidence too of us in the press box watching the basketball game. So
yeah, Dylan's still pretty young, man. And so there is going to be, some ebbs and flows to his game, if you will. And I think I said as much, like, still wanted to see more even after the Oakland game, like really eager to see how he develops and fits in and things like that. And, we said after the Oakland game or even during the Oakland game that Boise State hasn't had a guy like him. And so it works both ways. Like, not only is he developing, but, Leon and those guys are going to figure out how to utilize him best. And, Leon did kind of like, I'm not saying that he was insinuating this about Dylan, but he did say after the game, even the Oakland game, like, it depends on the night and the matchups and things like that on how much who's going to play. And so maybe that was just one of those matchups that they felt like they only wanted him on the floor for 13 minutes.
Yeah. A lot more Dylan Buchanan in that game than in the first game. And Alvaro Cardenas got in some early foul trouble in that game. Still played 31 minutes, but I think it really hurt him in the first half. And I'm looking tonight, I want to see Chris Lockett and Julian Bowie really kind of take that next step, Jay. They played 10 combined minutes in that game, had 3 turnovers, 1 assist, and I don't think any points. They're a freshman and a redshirt freshman. I get it. They're young, but Jace Whiting, for all the criticism he got, was a solid backup option at the point guard spot. Roddy Anderson leaves. They're gonna, like, Alvaro Cardenas can't play 40 minutes every game, so they're gonna need either Lockett or Bowie to step up, and I think they will. I mean, they're very high on both those kids, particularly Lockett, redshirting last year. Like, they think he's ready, and that's one of the reasons they were didn't go get another point guard or were okay with Jace Whiting leaving, because they felt Lockett was ready for that role. But just being completely honest, in 2 games, he hasn't really looked quite ready yet. And so I think tonight, if you can get a lead, especially to get some actual game experience for some of those young guys, is a huge thing I'm looking for tonight.
Yeah, those are probably even more so than the walk-on. The walk-on's the phenomenal story, but that's probably the production you need to get out of tonight, is making sure those guys get some nice college minutes under their belts and just continue to feel more and more comfortable, on the court. And, for those guys too, like, they don't have to come in and be Alvaro Cardenas, right? But they need to, I hate phrasing it this way, but almost just not mess up. Like, they don't need them to do a lot. They don't need them to be superstars. They just need to come in and not make sure there's a huge drop off, just try to flatline that thing. And I think that they're, both good players, both clearly have promise. This is just part of the developmental stages. Like, there's a lot of experience on this team that you can really count on night in and night out. And then there's some guys that are developing that won't be quite as steady. and it's still important to make sure that they are progressing, and that means some taking the good with the bad at times.
Tyson Degenhardt had 25 points. He proved that he's kind of the guy that we all expected and thought that he could be. But yeah, I mean, it was certainly. I know, as Leon says, they're never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems. But I mean, there were a lot of people putting them in the Sweet 16 after that first game, and they kind of, us included.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, I honestly, if I'm call me out, because I felt that after watching them play in that first game.
We all said that on press row. It was all of us, and it was all the fans, and I think that's why it makes it a little more disappointing that you can't follow that up with the win. And we will get back to football. Somebody said get back to the football talk. We will here in a few minutes, but we'll have to wait and see on San Francisco. I just think that, like, if you look at the numbers, like San Francisco, again, that will likely be a quad 1 loss by the time it's all said and done. It's definitely going to be quad 2. So that's not going to be would you like to be 2-0? Would you love to have that win? Yes, no doubt. And is that a game, if you want to be quote unquote different this year, that you probably need to find a way to win? Yes, I'm not denying that. But when it comes to like Selection Sunday, they're not going to be going, oh, they lost at San Francisco, we got to keep them out. Unless the only way is if it's them or San Francisco for the last spot, and they like, oh, well, they beat them. But that's not going to be, I mean, that's what helped them last year. All their quote unquote losses were pretty much good losses. So if they can beat Clemson, go to that tournament, and unfortunately that tournament became kind of a dud, but if they can get 3 wins down there and win that thing, and then you come back with Washington State, and if you can beat them at home, I mean, they were toying around with Idaho and then pulled away last night. And you'll know more about that, but I think one more non-con loss would be perfectly fine. You'd like it to not come to Clemson and be 2-2. If you can beat Clemson and kind of get some momentum rolling here and win the tournament, you kind of give yourself a little leeway with either Washington State or probably more likely St. Mary's. You'd like, if you, in a perfect world, you're still at 1 loss going into the St. Mary's game. And if you lose that and you've already got wins over Clemson and Washington State and you got a tournament championship under your belt, like that's still not a bad or not bad non-conference.
Yeah, I agree with that. It obviously depends on who the loss would be to and where. The road has a knack for just exposing, probably weaknesses, right? Like it's harder to play on the road than it is at home. It just is what it is. And I think maybe one thing that stood out to me a little bit is do they have enough shooters? 3 of 16 from 3 isn't going to cut it in a road game. And even that, like the lack of attempts, at least like kind of early in that game. I mean, I believe BJ, they were like well into the second half and had only attempted like 6 threes. So
Yep.
that is, that is something that will be worth monitoring, over these next couple of games as we really understand the identity of this team. And also, just like we said about the Oakland game, it was only 1 game. The San Francisco game, only 1 game. Like we are still trying to understand and learn about this team. Maybe they got enough shooters. Maybe they're phenomenal shooters. I don't know, but that's one thing that I'll continue to watch.
And this is no different. Like, I'm gonna put the Ken Palm page on here for a second, Jay, and share the screen here. But this is no different than the last couple of years. Like, this is what they usually have a loss or 2 early in the season, and then they get better and play their best basketball in February and March. I mean, I guess you could argue March with some of the tournament, lack of success there. But for the most part, conference play, they get this thing going in the right direction. And so it's not like this is some shocker that they lost a game like this. And you look at some of these numbers here, Jay, again, this is all individualized stuff, but I mean, the Ken Palm projections only project them in each individual game to lose. They're only going to be underdogs in 4 games all season right now. I mean, you look at this and and that's not exactly how it works. I get it. A couple of these wins are by 1 point. Like I do get it, and I'll try to blow this up a little more for you here, Jay. I say this to say, like, according to the Ken Palm projections, they're not supposed to lose another game for, almost 2 months. Like, I mean, is that going to happen? Probably not. But I'm just saying, like, they're supposed to beat Clemson by 2. They're supposed to beat Washington State. Like, they're favorites in a lot of these games. Like, I mean, that needs to happen. You got to take care of business and do it. But I guess all I'm saying is it's still the path is still there, and the projections and the computers still expect this to be a pretty good team and have a pretty good season.
Yeah, they'll be okay. That's why, well, first off, it was it's been more than a few years ago now where it feels like Boise State really altered their approach to their non-conference schedule. Like they used to play what was not, I would say it was more kind of weaker competition in the non-con in some years. And now you can look at like, no, let's go out and schedule a trip to San Francisco and let's get Clemson to come here. And there's other games too that aren't, Washington State and St. Mary's on neutral courts. Like they are playing the RPI game, if you will, where they're not just trying to schedule a bunch of patsies.
And
like they're trying to schedule some stiff competition and to get better and move forward and do those things. But yeah, like, okay, you're putting this up here right now, BJ, like the loss to South Dakota State, the loss to Charlotte, like those are way worse than losing at San Francisco, and they still went to the NCAA tournament in those years. Go back 2 years ago and then this. Yeah.
The greatest team, a lot of people say this was the greatest team in the history of Boise State basketball, 2022, winning, or maybe most talented, I don't know, record-wise, whatever, but doing what they did, and this team right here, and again, this is the team that finished 27-8, and they won the Mountain West tournament. They started their season at 3-4 with losses to Cal State Bakersfield and UC Irvine, where they scored 39 points in a loss to Cal State Bakersfield. They were 3-4, the best season they've ever had. And again, 2013 went to the NCAA tournament, started 1-2 with losses to South Dakota State and Charlotte. And then, as we said last year, they started 3-3 with losses to, and again, you look at these numbers, these weren't necessarily bad losses, but they were 3-3. So early losses are nothing new in the Leon Rice era, Jay. They just got to find a way to, not let one loss is fine. You just can't let it continue from there.
Yeah. They'll be okay. It's actually a pretty good thing to put on the screen from 2 years ago. And it shows you that they're for the wealth of knowledge that Leon Rice has in the game of basketball, he's even trying to learn some of these guys and figure things out. And a couple of years ago, man, it clicked in game 7 or whatever it was. And then it was just game on after that.
I never said it was a good loss. I'm just saying it's not yes, I did say it would be disappointing and deflating. It is. It's a little bit of a buzzkill after the great game they had in the first game. We're not denying that. We're just saying it is what it is. Jay, I know your time is short, but one final question from Robert here. Why exactly do all of you media members cower down when asking hard questions of the Boise State football coaching staff?
What's the hard question to ask right now?
Why do you run it up the middle every play with Ashton Genty? Why'd you pass the goal line instead of running it? I'm not really sure why is here's the big one. Why does DeMario Warren still have a job? That's the one everybody wants us to like flat out ask. No, they don't know how this works. Robert, if you want a press credential, we'll gladly find a way to get you. You come ask these questions yourself, Robert. I'd be more than happy to make that happen.
Yeah. Why do they run Ashton up the middle? Because the defensive end set a really wide edge. It's going to be hard to win on the edge when they set their defensive end so wide. We did ask the question last week about you actually, BJ, you straight up, you asked it, man, about the decision to throw there down near the goal line when you have Ashton Genty from the 2-yard line. And DeMario Warren, like, sure, man, like I'll get the criticism there, but I will also say this, like those guys have played better these last few games. I mean, you look at these last 4 games,
yes,
it's been pretty good. Now this week is a big task. This week is a big task.
You don't ask the head coach, why does he still have a job? Or why does he, there's a time and a place to ask these questions. That's not how it works.
I would ask another question more just about performance, not asking about somebody's job. That's a weird way to phrase it.
AP says Jay runs his mouth when Madsen balls out against bad teams. He was absent on X last week when Madsen did terrible against a bad Nevada team. What happened, Jay? You were pretty
I was absent. Yeah, I was. I don't think I was absent. And if you watch Sunday Sports Extra and stuff, I said that he's got to play better. Like 9 of 20 doesn't win. But it's also stupid to think that Maddox Madsen's going to be perfect every week when he's a sophomore that clearly isn't a perfect quarterback. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say, but I will also quickly acknowledge when he does good.
17 people are a little banty in the chat today.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Didn't disappear. Who's AP, by the way?
I think he's one of the trolls that likes to come in here and
dude, I'm never absent on Twitter. I tweet as much as anybody. I don't know what you're talking about.
You have your account working.
When I have my account working, that's actually a good point.
Hey, appreciate it, Jay. I know you got hopefully the final okay for the arms. Somebody asked earlier.
I got to get out of here. Yep.
You were giving me a regimen in the gym today I should have been working on. but you're close to being back to full strength here.
Yeah, I am. So I got to get that final clearance here in 20 minutes or so.
Well, I'm going to keep the show going for a little bit, but we appreciate and talk some more football, deal with the trolls a little more here in the chat, which you do it better than I do, so that could be a bad thing here. But appreciate you, Jay, and again, good luck on the call tonight. College of Idaho, NNU, 7:00, and I assume somewhere on the app or something we can go back and watch that if we miss it live.
Yeah, KTVB Plus, KTVB.com. It'll be archived on those streaming platforms.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. See you later.
There he is, Jay Tust, best in the business. Again, he'll be on the call tonight for College of Idaho and NNU. Make sure you check that out at KTVB Plus and the various ways, 24/7, I believe, as well. We'll keep it going here on Bronco Nation News. TheSpaTeam.com, Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game, Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978, and it's great now with the weather cooling down to get a spa for the back patio there. If you'd prefer, you can get a pool table for the game room. You can get a sauna. They got all kinds of options, and you can get those at thespateam.com. And again, locations all across the valley to check them out as well. Lithia Ford of Boise. Fall kickoff sale. They got 6 student athletes rocking vehicles from Lithia Ford of Boise, including 4 football players. If there is one, there's not very many bigger supporters of Boise State athletics than Jim Sturk with what Lithia and what Ford is doing. So return the favor. Next time you're looking for that next car or truck, make sure you check out Lithia Ford Boise. Thursday morning, it looks like Thursday morning, we're going to be doing the show live at Taco Bell. John Mallory will join me. So if you're around the area, 9:00 on Thursday, we'll be at the Taco Bell on Broadway. So if you want to come hang out with us on Thursday at 9:00, we'll be at the Taco Bell on Broadway, and maybe BNN will buy lunch for the first couple of folks that show up. So come say hello. We'll put you on air. You can ask a question, and we're looking forward to being at Taco Bell on Thursday morning at 9:00 here on Bronco Nation News. Transportation Compliance Service. If you're looking for a job, how about Transportation Compliance Service? Transcomservice.com every step of the way. They can help you get into the trucking industry, and whether it's those DOT permits, overweight permits, anything you need, check them out, transcomservice.com. The Blue and Orange Store has all the Ashton Genty gear, and again, we'll get back to the football talk here momentarily. All your Ashton Genty Heisman gear, get it at the Blue and Orange Store. They have the best selection, a couple full racks right in the front of the store dedicated to just Ashton Genty. So check them out right there in the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor next to Pro Image, or you can order anywhere in the world at the Blue and Orange Store.com. Jackson's on a Monday after Ahmed Hassanin gets a sack. You get a 91-cent coffee or fountain drink at Jackson's, and Breezy Dubar is getting back in the mix. Maybe this is the week he gets a touchdown, and if Breezy Dubar scores, you get the Breezy Bundle, a hot dog and a soda for $1 on Tuesdays at Jackson's. And again, 25 cents from every hot dog sold goes to benefit the Horseshoe Collective at Jackson's. LeanFeastMeridian.com, 10,000 plus combinations. Had a Lean Feast breakfast this morning. LeanFeastMeridian.com, steak, chicken, shrimp, fish. They're feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. Check them out, Lean Feast Meridian, LeanFeastMeridian.com. And again, you can order anywhere in the Treasure Valley, and it's good 5 days in your refrigerator. So order on a Monday or a Sunday, have meals for the whole week. You take them into work, 2 minutes in the microwave, and you're ready to go. It's all fresh, delicious. You can get more information, Lean Feast Meridian. I still need to update that web address there at the bottom. It's LeanFeastMeridian.com. All right, let's head on back into the chat and see what we got going here. We can talk football. We can talk basketball. We can go whichever way you would like to go. Let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, today, every day. I think you're talking about the chat. Yeah, the chat is rough every day. You know what? I try to keep it. I've seen some folks, like, if you're just being a complete troll or whatever, like, I mean, I want to give folks a chance to put their opinions in there, and a little disagreement's okay. So I'm not just going to block people for giving an opinion or for thinking about something. But if it goes too far and it's too ridiculous, and if there is someone that you guys think needs to be gone, let me know. And I want to give free speech, but I also want to keep the chat a fun place where people want to come in and chat and talk Boise State during these shows or after the shows. So if there is ever a person that I'm missing that you guys all think needs to be gone for whatever reason, let me know and I'll take a look at it, because I don't want this to be some just hatred, in the chat where it's not any fun. I want folks to come in here and while we're chatting, be able to talk with each other and stuff and talk Boise State sports during the shows. Let's see here. Is this the year the men's basketball team gets their first NCAA win? Again, a lot of season left. We'll see what happens. But I guess, and again, I'm not defending the loss. It was not a great loss, but I also don't think it was as bad as some people think just because they hear the name San Francisco. San Francisco is a pretty good team. They finished 65 at Ken Palm last year and then brought back 4 starters. So San Francisco is a decent team. And like I said, when it's all said and done, that's going to be a quad 1 loss. Not going to be a loss that hurts you for the NCAA tournament. Would you like to have had it? Would it have helped you? Definitely. You want to be different this year and be a quality team? Is that a game you probably should win? Probably. But again, road game, second game of the season. It is what it is. You just can't let that turn into, the future. Just you have to get back on track and keep winning and learn from that. But if all of a sudden you lose to Clemson and then you lose to, a game in the Cayman Islands, that wouldn't be good. So that loss by itself was not bad, or not terrible. But, if it gives you a little less margin for error in some of these other games, I guess, moving forward. Let's see what else we got here. Miami should be outside the top 12. Boise State should move up. Really hope the CFP isn't illogical. I don't disagree with you because I feel like Miami has kind of been playing with fire for a couple of weeks and should have lost. Was at Virginia Tech on the last play. There was another game they didn't play great in. I thought they were a little inflated, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to go all the way below Boise State. I would expect they're going to again. I think Boise State's going to be 13. I think Ole Miss jumps them, and as Jay said, there's a possibility 14 as well. Maybe SMU jumps them. We'll see. But again, all you got to do is stay within striking distance of BYU, and if BYU loses this week, maybe you jump them, and you're all of a sudden back to 4. So we'll see what happens tonight. Again, we are expecting to unveil these rankings live on the pregame show. So watch your Jayhawks, our Jayhawks, take down Michigan State on the basketball side tonight on ESPN. That game starts at 4:30. And then right there after the game ends, they're from Atlanta, from the arena, they're going to have the college football playoff rankings show while they're getting set for the Duke-Kentucky game in the second game of that doubleheader. So watch Kansas win, and then you get your rankings. But keep that on mute because we will have our pregame show live at 6 o'clock. Cameron says could jump the ACC also. Could, but again, don't think that's. I don't know if that's possible. If Boise State would have had just a dominant win and would have beaten Nevada, 50-3 or something, maybe. But when you only win that game by 7 points, I don't think you earn a ton of style points where it's really going to help you much. So it is what it is. Guy who is actually a Jayhawk fan. We're all Jayhawks on this blessed week. Yes. So that is tonight. We'll be live at 6 o'clock with the pregame show. We're going to talk to Abe Jackson. We're going to hear from Brendan Ramirez, the new member of the team, the former manager. We'll hear from Leon Rice. John Mallory will join us. We'll have some fun. Never know what's going to happen on the pregame show. And then, as I said, about 6:30 when those rankings kick off, we'll still be live, and we'll give you a live reaction, live thoughts to the College Football Playoff Rankings Committee to see what rankings to see where Boise State is. So it's not supposed to be brand bias. Compare them to other teams' resumes, and they're better than 12, 11, 10. Don't disagree. Don't disagree at all. And Ashton Genty doing his thing, I certainly think helps. I mean, the committee talked about how impressed they were with Boise State. The chairman said Genty had his most yards that that Oregon's had. Anyone's run against Oregon. Mentioned some of the margin of victories in their games. So they're obviously very impressed with Boise State. We'll find out tonight if they hurt them for barely beating Nevada. And again, where is Army in these rankings too? I do think that is something to keep in mind. How far up or down does how far up does Army go? How far down does Boise State go? And is that gap getting closer? Where if Army were to beat Notre Dame in 2 weeks, would they jump Boise State? I don't think so. But as Jay said, if the gap were big enough, could Boise State lose another game and still stay as the top group of 5 team? So I love seeing all this. And now I'm like super nervous because we're going to be on the post-game show in San Jose. I may even bring this Kansas hat or one of my hats to San Jose with me. And while we're on the post-game show and we're all talking about the Boise State game, but also keeping an eye on the Kansas game, I may bring that hat just so we can whip it out and all be Kansas fans together there. So that's going to be fun on Saturday, but more fun if they can find a way to win. don't feel super great. I don't think any team should ever feel super great about going to BYU for a night game. Super tough place to play. But, when it's a weird spread, there's usually something there. And there is no reason on paper Kansas should only be underdogs by 2.5 points at BYU. So, I mean, with that said, something looks weird. Something's probably going to be weird. I thought the Iowa State spread was weird, and Kansas crushed them. So, we'll see. The Vegas must know something to have the spread be that low. I will just say that. Am I from the Treasure Valley? No. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised in St. Louis. Traveled a little bit with my dad's work. I lived in Washington, D.C. for a couple years, lived in Scottsdale, Arizona for a year, but kept coming back to the St. Louis area. Never had been to the state of Idaho when I arrived for the job at the Idaho Press, back then the Idaho Press Tribune in 2013. Did a Skype interview and then accepted the job and never even came out to Idaho till I drove out to take the job in 2013. I've said this before, kind of expected to probably be there a year or two and find something back closer to, both of me and my wife's families in the Midwest. And then one thing led to another, and we just loved it out here. And both our kids were born out here, and we've had my wife's, mom moved out here, and it's been great. 12 years and counting now that we've been out here. So it's crazy. Got out here in March of 2013. And then I got married like in the fall of 2013, like right away, and or already had that plan before we moved here. But and then 12 going on. This is my 12th football season, going into 12 now 12th basketball season here covering Boise State. So it's been a crazy ride, but we're loving every second of it and loving the Treasure Valley. And yes, I did go to Kansas. I have the diploma somewhere here. Oh, where's the diploma? There you go. There's the actual diploma from the University of Kansas. Yes, my official name is Robert Raines. And we got some other cool stuff back there. But yes, I am a Kansas alum. Met my wife at a bar at Kansas, and so we're both Jayhawks. And that's been fun on the basketball side. Not as much fun on the football side, but they're trying to finish strong this year, and maybe they can find a way to win this game on Saturday and help everybody out. So looking forward to that. Robbie, appreciate you saying that, man. Nice words there. So excuse me. Let's see. Brian Browning, not necessarily a Madsen fan, it looks like, with some of his comments. It is what it is. Again, you look at the overall season stats just for fun. Let's go to the Mountain West. Actually, you know what? Let's go to CFBstats.com is where I go and get a lot of my stuff. We'll go to the Mountain West Conference. We'll go to passing stats. And you've got Maddox Madsen right now is 5th in the conference in passing yards. He is 3rd in the conference in passing yards per attempt. He is 2nd in touchdown passes, 1 touchdown pass. Short of Braden Shager. So 2nd in the conference in touchdown passes. 1st in the conference in fewest interceptions thrown. He's, again, thrown 3. I guess Matthew Sluka is at 1, but he left the team after 3 games. So among the qualifying quarterbacks, Maddox Madsen, fewest interceptions thrown in the conference. 1 touchdown away from being the highest thrown in the conference. Passing yards per game, he is 5th. Completion percentage, he is 5th. So, again, he is top half of the conference in pretty much every offensive stat, and, 5th or better, and a lot of them he's 1st or 2nd. And, again, you're talking about a quarterback that is completing 62% of his passes, has thrown for almost 2,000 yards, has 18 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. I'm sorry, but you're not benching a player with those numbers when you're 8-1 and on a 7-game winning streak. It's just not happening. So it's just not happening. So Brian says the conference stats are meaningless. I don't know if I'd say that. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever said he was the best quarterback in the nation. We're not trying to prove that. We're just saying he's an above average quarterback in this conference. Statistically, probably the 2nd or 3rd, quarterback in this conference is going to have a chance at an all conference league. As Cameron says, 19th ranked QBR in the nation. Brian. So there you go. It's crazy. And again, it sounds like, oh, you're apologist for Madsen, whatever. No, if anybody else thinks that the Malachi Nelson should be the quarterback, like that's your opinion, you go for it. That's fine. All I'm saying is the coaches are not making that switch, and the coaches would be crazy to make a switch right now. Could Malachi Nelson be doing the same thing? That's a totally different argument. If you want to say that if they would have started him from the beginning of the season to where they are now, they'd be in the same boat, I will listen to that. And I don't know if it'd be true or not. We'll never know. But I think that's more of a valid argument. Could he be doing the same thing? Maybe so. But he's not, because he's not playing, and coaches would be absolutely crazy. I know you guys, we talked about it the other day. Nick Saban's the only coach that would do something like that. And he has a little more street cred, and he's got a team littered with 5-star players to where the quarterback maybe doesn't have to do everything. It's a little different situation. And, I know Malachi Nelson's a 5-star guy waiting in the wings. I don't think it's the same in terms of the star power on the O-line and the receiving room and everything else as a Alabama offense had when they made that switch a couple years ago. But again, I if you want to say Malachi Nelson could be doing the same thing, I'll listen to that argument. If you want to say you think he should be playing right now, like, I'm not going to tell you you're crazy. Like, that's your opinion. That's fine. That it is what it is. I'm just telling you from a coaching perspective, there is 0.001% coaches and nobody other than Nick Saban that is going to bench their starting quarterback when they're 8-1 and ranked in the top 15 of the college football playoff with 18-3 touchdown to interception ratio, 62% completion percentage, and almost 2,000 passing yards. It just doesn't happen. So he says there's no way Malachi would be doing worse. You know what? And you may be right, Brian. You may. We don't know. We won't know. They picked. They picked if Malachi Nelson was doing this exact same thing, nobody would be clamoring for Maddox Madsen to be coming in the game. And that's just because Malachi Nelson has 5 stars, whatever is seen as the, whatever. But if they were in the same exact spot, nobody would be saying, oh, we got to bring, you'd be saying Malachi Nelson is having a great season if those were his stats. And just because it's Maddox Madsen, I feel like people just want to hate on him and rip on him. And it is what it is. It's the starting quarterback at Boise State. I get it. But I think if maybe I'm crazy, but I think if the roles or if the names were reversed and Malachi Nelson is having the season that he was having right now and had the exact same stat line, I don't think one person would be saying, oh my gosh, you got to take him out and put in Maddox Madsen. You wouldn't. You'd be saying he's having a heck of a year and he's going to have a great career here at Boise State. So I don't know why Maddox Madsen gets the hate, but I think that coaching staff, I'm not even saying what I would do. I would leave Maddox Madsen in there. That's fine. But again, I'm not going to argue. If you want to say that the wrong guy's in there, whatever, like that's fine. That's your opinion. But it's almost wasting our time to talk about it because coaches are not going to make a switch at this point when it's 8-1 with the stats that he has. They're just not. Couple of housekeeping notes. Sanford and Johnny are going to be tomorrow at 7. Tomorrow at 7 for Sanford and Johnny, and that's because Riley and Rid, which should have been tonight, but due to the basketball game, is moving to tomorrow night. So tomorrow at 8, live at the James Kitchen and Bar, will be Riley and Rid, and they'll have some special guests. You can go watch them. But we'll have Ball Talk at 7, Riley and Rid at 8 tomorrow night. So no show tonight. Tomorrow night, Riley and Rid will be after Sanford and Johnny. Ball Talk moving up an hour to 7 tomorrow night, and then Riley and Rid will be at 8 tomorrow night. And we enjoy getting the voicemails on the post-game show. I know Bob Schuler is coming through with some, but tonight would love to get him on the post-game show. And it's really easy. I don't think folks kind of realize this. On your phone right now, you can type in speakpipe.com/BNN into your web address, address, and literally you just hit the record button, you record it right there on your phone, and then it sends it right to us. You don't have to call a number, you don't have to do anything. It's super easy. And we would love to start making this. I've listened to some other post-game shows that use this feature, and they get just great reaction. We haven't got a ton of these calls, so it's been a little surprising to me. But I think it's just new, and folks don't know how to do it or don't want to try doing it. But I'm asking you, if you get a chance tonight on the post-game show, or right when that game ends, there's about a 20-minute gap where we go get the interviews with Coach Rice and the players. Like, fire up speakpipe.com/BNN and leave us a voicemail tonight on the post-game show. Would love to get your thoughts on this team, the college football playoff rankings. Anything you got, leave us a voicemail tonight. We'll play it on the post-game show. And our voicemail line is brought to you by Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 20 years. They do a tremendous job And again, whether it's an inspection, a repair, a re-roof, they can do it all. They'll give you a free estimate. They're a locally owned company, and every time I go to their office for a meeting or something, I'm laughing 2 minutes into the door. I mean, it's just great people there, and they do a tremendous job. And they've got RJ Keene on a NIL deal, and we're going to have some more footage this week of RJ Keene going trick-or-treating with some friends. And so Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. Check it out. And again, all your roofing needs. I know you have a lot of options in town, but local company that's a big supporter of BNN and a big supporter of RJ Keene, making it happen for him to have an NIL deal. Return the favor and check out Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. All right, let's see if we got anything else in the chat. Let's see. Looks like a lot of people are disagreeing with Brian there. And yes, I will agree with I think it was Bronco 130 here. If DK doesn't think Malachi Nelson is ready, I believe him. Salt it down. Yes. That's pretty much where I'm at. See if there's anything else in here. Again, get those Horseshoe Golden Ales, the Orange Chaos Seltzers tonight at Albertson Stadium. Or tonight, I guess, at Extra Mile Arena. Tomorrow, you can get them at Albertson Stadium or the next home game. But they've got them at the stadiums. They've got them at the brewery there in Garden City, and they've got them at the local retailers as well. And that is Western Collective, the Orange Chaos Seltzer, and the Horseshoe Golden Ale. And don't forget the Horseshoe, both of those, a portion of the proceeds goes to benefit the Horseshoe Collective, raising money and putting money back in the pocket of Boise State athletes. So appreciate you guys for checking us out. Seeing if we have any last minute comments here. We got a busy day today. We've got football interviews. We've got Amari and McCoy, and I forget who else is talking today. So we'll head down to football practice. We'll go to interviews. We'll get those posted on the YouTube channel, and then we'll get ready for the pregame show. We'll be live tonight from Extra Mile Arena at 6 o'clock. So again, Brian, let it go, or we may need to, again, you get your, I'm going to let you, prove your point here, but if it just gets to the point where you're trolling and it's going to clog up the chat, we'll tell you to see you later. But again, I'm not going to just kick somebody out that has a different opinion. That's perfectly fine, but let's, enough's enough at some point. But again, 6 o'clock tonight, we'll have the pregame show. Abe Jackson will join me. We'll have, as I mentioned, we'll learn more about Brennan Ramirez and his cool story, and you can go read my story at BroncoNationNews.com. Hopefully you folks checked it out. I put it in front of the paywall. It is free for everyone to read, BroncoNationNews.com. And if you like that story, and maybe that's the one that convinces you to want to subscribe, you see that promo code scrolling across the bottom of the screen. BNN 50 deal gets you a 1-year subscription for just $50. BNN 50 deal. And then $6.99 is a monthly option if you can't afford that. But at a minimum, support the sponsors. Many of them you see behind me. They make this show free. Aside from a few pop-up ads, you just watched an hour and 8-minute show for free on YouTube, as I say every day. So support the sponsors if you're unable to subscribe, and post photos, whatever, to social media. Let the sponsors know that it's working, and tell them thanks. And appreciate all kinds of folks that have supported the sponsors already. And we know that you guys can as well. So you guys can continue the debate in the chat. I'm going to jump out of here and get down to football interviews. Appreciate you guys as always. Again, rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. Got the blue and orange store Capital 11 hat, rocking that today. If Clark gets me an ICCU hat, I'll be happy to wear one. But Taco Bell on Thursday. Don't forget, we'll be at Taco Bell on Thursday. So the next couple of days, we got the pregame show tonight at 6. We got the game. We got the postgame show. And then we got tomorrow morning with Brad Bedell, and then talking mostly football. And then we got 2 shows tomorrow night, Ball Talk and Riley and Red. And then Thursday morning, Johnny and I will be at Taco Bell on Thursday. So appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching the show. Have a great rest of your day. Go read BroncoNationNews.com. Go subscribe and sign up if you can. And we'll get those football interviews posted to the YouTube channel. So at a minimum, make sure you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get access to all of the I'm seeing something about some racist comments. I'll have to go back and read them because I haven't been looking too close. But if that's the case, we definitely can boot somebody out of here. We're not going to have a place for that. I will take a look there and see after the show. But Guys, appreciate it. We'll talk to you at 6 o'clock on the pregame show. And again, on YouTube, there's a feature where you can turn on the notifications so you know when we go live or when we post a new video. And I highly recommend that. So when we post interviews and things like that, you get a note and you're able to go watch the video right away. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Another good day of viewership. Go support the sponsors. Go subscribe. Go retweet it. Tell your friends. All that good stuff. And we will talk to you at 6 o'clock from Extra Mile Arena, the Lithia Florida Boise pregame shows. We get you set for Boise State and Corban. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.